This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news, and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Georgia Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Burgamy.
All right, another week, another show, and time for us to share the latest ag news with you. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to another edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. I'm Ray DeLessio.
And I'm Kenny Burgamy. As always, happy to have you along for the next 30 minutes. Straight ahead on the program, celebrating 20 years. See how the Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association celebrated that occasion and how the organization has changed since its inception.
Also on the program, could this be the future of agriculture? We'll show you how researchers in Australia are trying to make farm life a whole lot simpler for you. And then later.
Hey everybody, Ranger Nick here. Coming up, we're talking about things that wiggle underground that are helping farmers and soil. Stick around and check it out with us. Hope you dig it.
This year, the Georgia Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association celebrates their 20th anniversary. We spoke with the organization's executive director and found out why their mission has been so successful. What started as an opportunity a little over 20 years ago to help promote the fruit and vegetable industry in the state has become a major passion for Charles Hall. Hall is the executive director of the organization and says Georgia is a very diverse state, growing everything from beans to Brussels sprouts.
When the association started, the goal was to be the voice of the produce industry in Georgia, and I think we've accomplished that. I think they've worked hard to get to that point, and we've got a great leadership group throughout those 20 years.
Hall credits the success of the association to all the producers that have contributed their efforts in supporting the organization the past 2 decades. They've reached a number of milestones, including the establishment of the Workers' Compensation Program, secured funding for the marketing of Georgia's specialty crops, and introduced the Georgia Gap Food Safety Program.
Georgia Farm Bureau was in the middle of it because Ed Thornton was the ad hoc coordinating group from Georgia Farm Bureau. So Georgia Farm Bureau had a very strong hand in putting those groups together and kind of forming that ad hoc group. So they met for about a year, maybe 2 years in 94, 95, and decided that by 96 they needed to go ahead and start an association.
Something you may or may not know is the Management Association continues to branch out and now helps support several other groups.
Our association, Georgia Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association, is managed by a management company. It's called Association Services Group. And that particular company manages 13 different trade associations. A number of those are ag-related, the Georgia Watermelon Association, Georgia Agritourism Association, the Eastern Cantaloupe Growers Association, and our newest is the American Agricultural Editors Association. But we work with those particular associations also to help them with their particular association from a management standpoint, financially, communication-wise, marketing-wise, in all the areas where you need staff support for a membership association.
As far as the future goes, Hall says the association will continue providing educational, marketing, and legislative resources to the industry.
Probably the biggest needs or biggest concerns from growers, first is labor, particularly within the fruit and vegetable industry, because there's such a strong need for labor within the harvest, production and harvest. The other is regulatory. I mean, we're dealing with water regulations, we're dealing with EPA regulations, we're dealing with labor regulations, and that's one of the biggest concerns. We're involved with the water issues down on the Flint, with the work that's going on from that standpoint. We're dealing with EPA regulations that are going on that growers have to be faced with every day. So those are the big keys that I think are two of the biggest from that standpoint. Food safety is a major issue at this point as the new FSMA regulations are coming out, and then you've still got to sell that product. So there's marketing needs from that standpoint.
All right, Kenny, thank you very much. In other ag news, ranchers, listen up. Soon, your daily task of rounding up the herd or hauling stuff to the field could get a little easier. Say hello to the Swagbot, the electronic cowboy, so to speak. is part of a farm robot trial by the University of Sydney and the Australian Centre for Field Robotics. Not only can it round up cattle, but the robot, it appears to have a pretty decent towing capacity. So that could certainly make your lifestyle a bit easier. Now, the hope for SwagBot is to eventually use robots in places where traditional farmers and ranchers on horseback would be too dangerous or remote. Right now, researchers are only testing SwagBot's ability to herd cattle, but within the near future, they plan to install motion sensors as well as color, temperature, and shape sensors that would allow SwagBot to identify if any of the herd is sick or injured. This in turn, of course, would enable it to alert farmers and ranchers of the health of their animals. Now, meantime, renowned for its agricultural programs, the University of Georgia helps supply the state's #1 industry with the workforce, research, and advice needed to keep things running smoothly.
And recently, the school's president paid a visit to a number of farming operations to get an up-close look at how they are affecting the industry. Damon Jones has the story.
Leaders from both Atlanta and the University of Georgia recently got a first-hand look at what farmers do on a daily basis as they took part in a joint farm tour across South Georgia. And that group included the UGA president, who realized just how important the school was to the ag industry as soon as he stepped into the job.
When President Morehead came into office, we made a commitment, and then he made a commitment. He says, let's make sure we spend some quality time out around the state to see, firsthand where the university is making an impact on agriculture and agriculture businesses.
Well, this is the 4th year in a row that I've been a part of an agricultural tour across the state. And each and every year I just learn new things about not only what the university does to support the agricultural industry, but how critical that partnership is for the state of Georgia and for the future of the agricultural industry.
Besides learning new things, Morehead also got a chance to see how valuable the University of Georgia is to the farmers, as it helps them on a number of different fronts.
I mean, I heard today stories of our students, stories about the research that our professors are doing, all of the work that goes on in cooperative extension, our small business administration. I mean, so much of what is done at the University of Georgia goes out across the state of Georgia, and I think demonstrates the importance of having a land-grant institution that's supporting the state.
The state government was also very well represented, as both the Senate and House Ag Committee chairs were in attendance. It provides them a unique opportunity to not only check out different operations, but also speak with farmers in person about issues that will affect the industry.
Well, you can hear about things, when we're in session in Atlanta, a lot of the farmers come up and visit with us, and we have the opportunity to hear from them, but there's really no substitute for actually going to visit people, talking to them face to face, and actually feeling the heat and being where they are with the work that they're doing every day. So today's been a wonderful opportunity for us to do that, because Georgia has a very diverse agriculture, and of course this year we're kind of focusing on some of the things that are going on in South Georgia.
This whole event was put on by the Georgia Department of Agriculture in an effort to both show these state leaders what happens on the farm and provide them an opportunity to network. It's that sort of teamwork that keeps agriculture in the state so strong.
And I can tell you, in many cases, the communication between, we're the envy, really, from a standpoint of, I think a very good example of why everybody's for agriculture. We know that it's the #1 economic engine in the state. There's a we attitude when it comes to Georgia agriculture. I'm just delighted I can be on a team where everybody says we.
Reporting from Albany, I'm Damon Jones for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
All right, Damon, good job, sir. Still to come on the Monitor, Ranger Nick introduces us to two men whose worm business just keeps growing and growing. And if you're looking for some quality compost, you definitely want to hear what Nick has to say.
But first, all that checkoff money put forth by cotton and peanut growers, how those dollars are being spent and how it's benefiting those two crops. That is next when the Georgia Farm Monitor continues.
My name is Lynn Hooven. I'm a consultant forester. I go by the name of Forest First Consultants. And a lot of people ask me where I come up with a name like that. But my theory is the forest is more important than its owner. And I worked 34 years for the Georgia Forestry Commission. I was management chief and had a wonderful career. And I'm one of the few people, I think, that had the opportunity to go through that 34 years. And then you graduate, as I call it. You graduate from that. And now I'm out in the country here in Jones County on a 1,500-acre farm. So I probably have the biggest office anybody has ever had, 1,500 acre. People have to remember the value of the forest is worth nothing if you don't have somebody to harvest it. We've had a timber harvest on this farm every single year since 2002, and I have one scheduled all the way to 2026. We don't do any total harvest. We thin from within and always taking the worst and leaving the best. Like regular farmers with row crops, you have to be an optimistic person. You have to be patient because growing trees is a 20 to 30 to 40 year process. In a lot of the foreign countries, they don't have a problem with harvesting a tree and then replanting for grandchildren. And so we got accustomed to short rotations, and we get accustomed to wanting our money quick. That doesn't happen in trees. But somebody will reap the benefits generations down the road.
Georgia peanut and cotton producers fund many different research projects that advance these two important Georgia commodities. Every year, the Georgia Cotton Commission and the Georgia Peanut Commission invest grower dollars that bring big returns for farmers and consumers. The Monitor's Mark Wildman has the report.
Georgia peanuts and Georgia cotton are very important to the state's economy, and these two commodities are very important to the farmers that grow them and to the small rural communities that surround many Georgia farms. Here in Tifton, research is being conducted that will keep these commodities growing for generations to come. Recently at a field day, growers got to see just how research dollars are spent to advance cotton and peanuts.
To me, this is an open-ended mix of information because we're providing some of the results, some of the things that we're working on, but it also kind of spawns conversation where growers may bring up ideas that we've not been dealing with, or that they've got issues that we need to deal with, so that we can add them into our research and extension programs in the near future. So I think it's a two-way street. I think we enjoy this cooperative effort between the two commissions, and because a lot of the same growers grow both crops, and so I think it's a good thing. But I really do enjoy the reaction and interaction with the growers and the industry folks so that we can kind of keep moving these two crops forward.
Row after row of peanuts are planted alongside cotton fields to help learn how to grow better crops more efficiently.
We're looking at planting date, harvest date. We're looking at row spacing. We're looking at a lot of varieties to see which one might work in this area versus another. And that's just in agronomics. We also have all the entomologist work that's going on, looking at insect problems. We're looking at plant pathology, which is a big problem in peanut. You know, the breeding effort is showcased here today. That is a tremendous thing. I mean, because peanut is still one of the only row crops that's bred in the university system still.
Dr. Bob Kimmerite is a UGA plant pathologist, and he conducts research here in Tifton to fight diseases that can get a stronghold on crops. One of those diseases in cotton is called bacterial blight, and it is a widespread problem in many fields around the state.
Bacterial blight is caused obviously by bacteria. It's caused by a Xanthomonas bacteria, and it causes very diagnostic leaf spots. They're constricted or delimited by the veins. It's called bacterial blight because the bacteria in there, they can't get around the leaf walls or the cell walls, and so you see geometric shapes, an angular shape. And from there it can go internal, it can go in the veins, but it can also cause a boll rot.
Of course, if left untreated, this disease can hurt a farm's bottom line.
If it remains strictly a part of the leaves, restricted to the leaves themselves, and cause premature defoliation, in the most severe cases, we're probably talking about a 10% yield loss, depending upon when the disease comes in. However, if it spreads to the bolls and the boll rots associated with it, our losses can get more, maybe 25%.
Cotton and peanut research here in Tifton and other parts of the state depends greatly on funding from the Georgia Peanut Commission and the Georgia Cotton Commission. In Tift County, I'm Mark Wildman for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Thank you, Mark. The Georgia Farm Bureau recently kicked off their annual district meetings in Americus. Now, besides all the food and fellowship, it also provided the organization a chance to recognize the counties for all the good work they do throughout the year to support the ag industry. It's a mission GFP President Gerald Long knows is the cornerstone of the company.
Our organization was founded by farmers and remains focused on supporting farmers and our agricultural communities across our state. We know that farmers are our core group. They are what we're here for. And we know that only farmers can vote and hold office in Georgia Farm Bureau.
Now, this is the first of 10 district meetings that will take place all throughout the state. When we come back, sure, they're not the prettiest things to look at, but the soil these worms produce is some of the best. Ranger Nick introduces us to two men whose Georgia worm farm is getting bigger by the day. Stay tuned.
Assembly line precision, scoop, fill, and seal. And when you've packed 36 of these, that's enough to complete a Farmers versus Hunger is an effort by the people charged to grow our food. Here, producers and volunteers put meal packets together at the Milan No-Till Field Day at the UT Ag Research Center in Gibson County. Carroll County farmer Jeremy Fowler says giving your time is a great lesson to teach his kids.
How many of these have you made?
A bunch.
Put it in there, Zach.
Anytime you can give back to the community, it's always worth the effort. You know, somebody's helped us along the way. We feel like we need to give back every chance we can.
The nutritious meal here is made from something these producers grow a lot of: soybeans, Tennessee's top row crop.
And it's a program where we come in and we package a macaroni and cheese based meal that has a soy protein. And so having that protein gives it a little extra kick for those that are going to utilize it, to hang with you a little bit better.
The Milan community has always had a strong, proud connection to this field day and this Ag Research Center. And the food packed here today will go to several local charitable organizations. Just down the road, Pat Ward operates the mustard seed. Hunger isn't just an urban issue. This food pantry serves a town of some 8,000 and stays busy. 17% of all Tennesseans are food insecure, including a quarter of our children. Ward will put the donated meals in boxes for families and cook and serve many as well.
Oh, we most certainly will. We'll be able to use them as a supplement in our soup kitchen, cook them as the carbohydrate entree for the day, in addition to the other items that we serve. We also will make sure that every family gets at least 2 packets per box.
By day's end, volunteers pack nearly 28,000 meals, and several more thousand will be delivered within a week to local charities. Here, farmers go beyond planting and harvesting, caring for their crops, but also the people nourished by them. This is Charles Denny reporting.
Well, finally today, when it comes to agriculture, both large and small, bottom line, using the best soil possible to plant whatever you're growing is a must if you want satisfactory results.
Yeah, Ranger Nick found a great source of that soil, but it should be noted that it took some digging around for him to find it.
Hey everybody, I got caught again. I get caught over and over, caught in rainstorms. And as I look down at the ground, you notice all those little wiggly worms all over the place. Would you believe that I'm standing in a room today full of thousands and thousands of worms? Each one of these bins is full of 1,500 of those guys. We're going to introduce you to 2 gentlemen that saw those wiggly worms, decided to make a business out of it to help farmers and urban agriculturalists all over the country. Can't wait to show you more about this. So I'm joined today by Mr. Morris and Mr. Lee over here at Winterville Worms. Mr. Morris, tell me, we're looking at a pile of soil here on a workbench. What did you used to do together with a pile of soil like this?
Well, about 2 years ago, we started a worm business called Winterville Worms, and we wanted to be able to contribute to the agricultural community, to put in good, to help to increase better soil. And so we started raising red wigglers. Now, the pile here is full of red wigglers. we turn the bin upside down because we want the worms to migrate to the bottom. And the light pushes them down to the bottom because they don't like the light. And this gives us an opportunity to begin to rake off what is known as castings. And that's the fertilizer that really helps to build the soil and make for great plants and great organic fertilizer.
Okay. That's worm poop. Is that what that is?
That's what it is. Yes, that's what it is, worm poop. And we would slowly pull it off and push it to the side, and eventually we would get down to the worms, and then we would separate the worms from all the casting, and then we would take the castings, dry it out, and put the worms in new bedding and start over, and that's how the production of it got started.
So this is kind of like a nursery. All right, Mr. Lee.
Yeah.
You guys both would sit at this very bench about 2 years ago and do just what we're doing right now. How did we get from this little pile of soil and worms to this room where I'm surrounded by, you guys say, millions of red wigglers? How did that happen?
Well, red wigglers are very prolific, and they reproduce rapidly. As a matter of fact, about every 4 to 6 weeks, they will double in population. They lay egg every day. Mature one does. That's 16 weeks on, and each egg will have from 5 to 7 baby worms in it. And so you're reproducing really rapidly. And as they do that, you know, we started out with 5,000 worms, just 5 pounds of worms. It's about 1,000 worms per pound. We started out with 5,000 worms. And so the next month we had 10,000 worms. And the month after that we had 20,000 worms. And the month after that 40, and then 80, and then 160, and then 320. You can see where that's going to go.
Wow.
In no time, we were out of space. And we had to start creating room for these worms. And that's how we started building the shelves and making the aisles down here.
It's incredible. We're going to talk about how this thing went from this room to outside right now. All right, so Mr. Lee, we're back outside from the nursery, back outside to one of these hoop houses, and I'm pulling this back and just look at the richness, look at the worms everywhere. Why is it that I have this, all of a sudden, an inkling for coffee? I smell coffee. What are these guys bedded in?
They're bedded in peat moss, but we feed them every week a mixture of Jittery Joe's used coffee grounds and corn powder and chicken crumbles, and we spread it over the bed every week, all right, and give them a little bit of water to keep it damp, and that's what they supplement their diet with. But they basically eat the bedding material. We supplement their diet with those other things.
Wow. And then as these worms are eating and they're digesting that material, we want to get to figure out how those castings come about in just a second. So let's go see what that's about. All right, so we're at the worm disco. I mean, check this thing out. It's a tumbler. Guys, this is a business. How are we getting from this worm disco over here to this bag of worm castings?
All right, what we do is we take the material from the bed that's got worms in it, it's got the worm castings in it. We bring it here, we feed it into the end of the tumbler. The tumbler's 1/8 inch screen let in, 1/4 inch on this end. The castings come out, the 1/8 inch screen, the worms move down to the end and come out in the last couple of feet down here. And that way we can take the worms and either rebed them or put them up for sale. We gather the castings, we bag the castings for sale, or we put them in piles for people who buy in volume. Either way.
It's amazing to have a pile of worms that they can use for fishing, sell the bag of worm poop, the castings. Amazing. Guys, thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I really, really appreciate y'all. Wish y'all the best. This is wonderful. Been a blast. Man, from starting in the nursery where the worms grow up to the worm disco and all the things that we learned about today with these little red wigglers, I have had a blast. I hope that this show has got you feeling warm and fuzzy inside. For the Farm Monitor, I'm Ranger Nick. You know the deal. Check us out on Facebook. Like my page on Facebook while you're there. Check out the Georgia Farm Monitor page and like that. And until next time, remember, enthusiasm's contagious, so pass it on. Have a great rest of the month, and we'll see you again next time. See ya.
All right, thank you, Nick. That is going to do it for this week's edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Here's a reminder for all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm. Be sure and check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming and here on the Farm Monitor Show.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week right here on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Have a great week.